Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2025 Global Peace Film Festival Filmmaker Conversations. I'm Gabby Kennedy, host of the Actors Talk with Gabby Kennedy, and co hosting these conversations with me is the wonderful Nina Strike. She's the founder and the festival director of Global Peace Film Festival. This year's festivals run from September 16th through the 21st in Winter Park in Orlando. And also, the festival's Free for All Shorts program runs from September 22nd through the 28th. For more information about the festivals, go to peacefilmfest.org. Now, I have the pleasure of introducing Julie Bayer Salzman, the director of a short film series, Broken and Beautiful, Just Breathe and Release. Julie, how are you today? And thank you for joining us.
I'm great. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, where are you joining us from?
I am in Venice, California, outside of Los Angeles, just about a mile from the beach. And it's
All
a
right.
beautiful, sunny, 72 and sunny day.
All right. All right. It's a beautiful day here in Florida too. We're not a 72, but we're hoping in a few months.
And it's actually around 72 in New York as well, where I'm
Nice.
sitting.
You guys are lucky. All right, Julie, will you please tell us about your series of short films?
Yeah, sure. So I've been working for the last almost decade now on a series of short films that I'm referring to as mindful shorts. Basically, what they are is it's hard to describe in a nutshell, but a series of short films that span the various stages of life and the different kind of emotional / habitual states of mind that arise in that time of life. So, for example, it starts off with elementary school kids dealing with anger, and that film is entitled Just Breathe. And it's like a 3.5-minute film that's basically teaching people about what's happening in the brain when they're angry. And this is all through the mouths of small children who were learning mindfulness and neuroscience as kindergartners in school. Then the next film is about anxiety with middle school kids, and it's called Release. The third film was about depression in high school, called Into Light. The fourth film is slight. There's a little bit of a placeholder for the fourth film right now because we started it on gun violence and college students, but then that had to it went on hold for a minute. We had to fast forward to the next film on middle age and addiction. That film is called A Good Day. And then the film we just finished and is at the festival again this year. This year, along with Just Breathe and Release, is called Broken and Beautiful. And that is what should be the final film in the series. And that deals with grief and older age, basically. So yeah, the series will be 6 films when they're all said and done. But we still have to go back and do what should be the 4th in the series on trauma and college kids.
So, Julie, we have been, we've been showing your film since Just Breathe was in our festival like 10 years ago. How did you come to start the project? And when you did Just Breathe, did you see it as a series or did that evolve later?
Yeah. So, Just Breathe came out of a conversation that I witnessed between my, at that point, kindergartner and his friend. They were talking about their amygdala over hot chocolate one day after school. And I thought, like, okay, this is fascinating. What's going on, guys? Tell me more. So from that, I called the principal at his elementary school and said, hey, so, what is this curriculum that you guys are teaching the kids? Where did it come from? And she told me about a program called Mindful Schools that she had taken classes with, and she was using their curriculum for our K-5 program at the school. And so I took it upon myself as the parent to learn what my child was learning, right? And I thought, well, if he's learning this, I better learn it. So I did a class. It was a 6-week course online on mindfulness, and that's kind of where it all started. I took the course. I loved it. I mean, I really felt like such a deep transformation in myself over the course of those 6 weeks. And it was literally during a meditation when I was closing my eyes, and all of a sudden I just saw the film. I saw, based on the conversation that my son and his friend were having, and I just pictured this entire film in my head. And I woke up, kind of popped out of the meditation and called the principal and said, "Hey, I would love to interview all the kids. Here's what I'm thinking." And she said, "Oh my, that'd be great. Please come on in." And so we shot that film on a Saturday afternoon at school, and it was all, like I said, unscripted. And when I saw that film and I saw the power it suddenly had, because it really caught on fire very quickly. And I really didn't think that was going to happen. I thought we were just doing a film for the school. Like I thought it was like, I'm going to give this film to the school so they can put it on their website, so they can see, so other parents can see what the kids are learning. And because it was a new charter school, and I was really excited about the social emotional learning curriculum that they were implementing. So that's, but then I started submitting it to a couple festivals, and it was like boom, boom, boom. And then Oprah got a hold of it somehow. And that's when I thought, okay, I need to be doing more. Like, people are hungry for this. There's clearly a need to do something about giving this kind of, teaching to audiences. And that's when I came up with the rest of the series. I thought, okay, this is a great start. And I was really just thinking about my son's life too, I think, in a lot of ways, like what was going to grow with him, and how do we, how do we learn, how does what we learn change as we get older, and how does this mindfulness practice really help people as they get older? Like, what does it look like really? How do you, and I wanted to get into like deeper and deeper understandings of the practice, and all the different ways in which it can be really used to help all of us navigate this, really challenging thing called life. And that was kind of, that's how it all evolved.
So there was, I mean, that was kind of a surprise for you to turn the one film into a whole series. And Broken and Beautiful, that we're showing in the festival in September, is slightly different in that it uses Japanese pottery as the kind of glue that brings the story together. Can you talk about that?
Sure. Yeah. So kintsugi is a Japanese art form, right, of mending broken pottery, and it's been happening in Japan for hundreds of years. Obviously originated for a very different reason, which was literally just to repair pottery and extend the life of things. But I first came upon kintsugi, I don't know how many years ago, maybe 5 to 10 years ago. And I remember seeing it and just really being like captured by it in some strange way. Like I was really like drawn to it. I think just visually and conceptually, like philosophically. And I started to, I remember thinking like, oh, one day I'm going to take a class in kintsugi. But I never had anything that was really broken that I needed to mend. So I just sort of put that thought away. And then, I was trying to figure out how to do this film on grief. And I knew grief was the subject for this final film. And I had started thinking about grief retreats and filming grief retreats. And I got in touch with a couple of different organizations about filming grief retreats. And at the end of the day, it wasn't sitting right with me because it felt like such an invasion of people's privacy. And I'm not, I really respect filmmers who want to go in there for the toughest moments with people, but I'm not that person. I don't like to throw cameras in people's faces. I just have a hard time with it, which is kind of odd as a filmmaker. But I wanted to convey the story differently about grief. And I knew Sandy Phillips. I had met Sandy years ago. My husband was doing a film about gun violence, and he met Sandy and Lonnie in 2014 when he was working on a film called Under the Gun. And Sandy and I became quick friends. And as I was learning about mindfulness, she would come through town and we would get together for dinner always, and they'd stay with us and whatnot. And we'd, have these conversations around the dinner table. And at some point I told her what I was doing, and she said, "Oh, well, that's really interesting. I'm doing something similar." So we got into talking about that practice. And then, a year and a half ago or whenever it was, when I started to think about this film and, realizing the grief retreats weren't going to work out, I had to do something different. I talked to Sandy and I said, "Hey, what do you think? Like, you're somebody who's been, doing the work for so long now. You've gone through the most kind of horrendous tragedy that anybody ever wants to, can imagine. Nobody ever would want to go through that. And like, here you are, this embodiment of wisdom and healing. And that's so inspiring. I think, it's so inspiring to people." And she was like, "Yeah, of course, I'd love to work with you. It'd be great." And so I thought, okay, well, I don't want to just do an interview, and I don't want to, all of the films, as are like more experiential in quality. Like they really kind of get you immersed in the feel of a meditation practice, and it, they're kind of a more like experiential immersive experience on their own. And then it was like suddenly I don't know where in the back of my head kintsugi just like came up to the forefront and emerged as like, okay, actually, this is the perfect thing to do, is to marry these two stories of like, what is kintsugi, the practice of kintsugi, the work of it itself, and like what a beautiful metaphor that could be for somebody who is healing from a tremendous loss. And so I talked to Sandy about it, and she was like, "I love it. I've always wanted to do kintsugi." And so, it just kind of naturally fell into place. And I went, of course, to start finding a kintsugi artist, and, God love the power of the internet, right? I went onto Instagram and just did a search on the hashtag for kintsugi in Los Angeles, and found this phenomenal woman, Fumika, Tanakashira. And, she and I met, and I just, we just instantly kind of bonded, and that was it. It was sort of like, okay, I'll get Sandy and I'll like film kintsugi and let kintsugi be the visuals, because, a lot of people are used to documentaries with like, okay, archival footage and, lots of interviews and whatnot, but I didn't want to do that approach. I wanted something that would sort of feel like it was in line with Sandy's journey. And I think the kintsugi just allowed us to do that, because it's a very time intensive process, right? It takes months to do. You have 6 steps that are all several weeks apart. So it requires time, it requires patience, and it just all kind of matched together in the edit room kind of perfectly.
The film is just so moving. It's really a beautiful metaphor.
Thank you.
For recovering from grief, which of course takes forever.
Yeah.
Who talk about behind the series, and this obviously happened after the first film. There's an organization behind the series, right?
Well, there have been a couple different people. There's been one organization called Unlikely Collaborators that has helped fund the last 2 films. But the other 3 films, is that right? Yeah. Were mainly crowdfunded and, private donations. And I was always doing Indiegogo campaigns and, all the crowdfunding campaigns. But yeah, Unlikely Collaborators stepped in for the last 2.
But there's the school, the educational.
Oh, well, no, so it's all different. Like every film
Oh,
is
okay.
different. So Mindful Schools was the
Oh,
organization that
yeah.
provided the curriculum for the first film, but there
Right.
was no funding from them.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And the third film, Into Light, was about the Peace in Schools organization, but again, no funding from them. Just I sourced the students from their program because that was the only program at the time, and maybe still, I don't know, in the country that was offering semester long and year long courses in mindfulness in public high schools, as an elective, as a 4-credit elective. So they found me after Just Breathe. They wanted me to do a film for them, but they didn't really have funding for it, and I was kind of busy doing commercials and Sesame Street work and whatnot, and I just was like, I can't really do more nonprofit stuff. But then when I wanted to do the depression film, I was looking for kids around Los Angeles, and I couldn't find any of the kids who had the understanding that these kids in Portland had, because they had already sent me interviews with kids from the past and I was so blown away by the emotional intelligence of these teenagers. So that's when I went back to them when I said, okay, you called me years ago wanting me to do a film for you, but now I'm asking you, can I do a film for you? May I please do a film for you? But just like I need creative control. It's, I'm not asking you for money. I don't want you to pay for this. I want to, I will obviously plug your program as the foundation for these kids learning at the end of the film, but it's not going to be about the program, and they said, yes, like, great, do it, So that's how that happened. And then, yeah, A Good Day was a addiction recovery center that I knew of in upstate New York. And that's when Unlikely Collaborators came in to help fund that piece. And then they helped fund Broken and Beautiful.
So when you look back over the entire series, and of course you still have the one to complete.
I do.
What surprises you about the whole experience from beginning to end?
I think it's proven to me how much power we do have in our own minds. I mean, I don't think I really recognized that 10 years ago going into it. I mean, I think I was like most, people who are going through life, living their lives, thinking that somehow, you just sort of live it. And I mean, I didn't really understand just how much control we have over how we deal with things in life. I think I grew up in a fairly I don't know, like my family was very emotional. They were very, a little unpredictable, a little wild sometimes. And there was not a whole lot of emotional intelligence that I learned growing up. And I think I really realized how important it is right now for everybody to, get some serious emotional intelligence, because I do think we're in trouble on a larger scale. And to just sort of take some power and have some agency in how we respond to situations, and not feel like we're all supposed to be flying off the handle all the time. It's not normal. It's not healthy. And I think to see how mindfulness plays such an essential part of that, sort of like turning the impulsive reaction into a thoughtful response, is something that I just feel like is such a simple concept, but it's so profound and it's so important that we teach this. And I think that the series of films has demonstrated just how powerful that very simple concept is, and how essential it is right now, in my mind, to our like overall well-being, individually and collectively.
Gabby, do you have a question for Julie?
Absolutely. Julie, you spoke so beautifully about your series, and I love connecting with people like you because you're a real change maker. So congratulations with all of the success and all of the change that you've made in young lives, middle-aged lives, older lives, with your short films. Julie, you mentioned that you're going to finish Broken and Beautiful. Is that the one that you or what's next for you?
Oh, okay, yeah. No, so Broken and Beautiful is the one that's at the festival. That one's done. But the next film, what I have to finish is that slot for trauma and college kids, and I've decided to pursue it on a very scientific level. Like all the films have been anecdotal and personal, but this next film, I'm trying to find neuroscientists and researchers at our local universities, mainly UCLA and USC right now, who will work with me on the science of mindfulness and make a very scientific, data-driven, but like visually compelling and interesting, probably a little abstract because I do like the art of filmmaking and storytelling. Artful images are really important to me. So I want to kind of make art out of the science of what they're doing and give something to people who are maybe still a little skeptical about mindfulness and thinking that, well, but does it really work? Is this all just woo-woo garbage, right? Because it's not. And I think there's plenty of science now and evidence that this is a real process and real work, and there's actual like validity behind it. And that's what I'm going for next, is like working with universities, telling that like what is the science, what are the experiments, what is the research showing, and doing that in a really interesting way, which I literally am looking forward to, but definitely working in a collegiate sort of atmosphere.
Absolutely. That's going to be a good one. That's something that's definitely needed. Julie, thank you so much for joining us today to discuss your series of shorts. Where can we connect with you and find out more information about your series?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, everything is uploaded for free on YouTube. I mean, part of the beauty of the series is that we give these films away for free. So you can go onto YouTube. I have a YouTube account, Julie Bayer Salzman. They're also on our website, wavecrestfilms.com. They're also on Vimeo under Wavecrest Films. So yeah, this work is made by donations, and it's so that I can give it away for free. And people can have access to it whenever they need it, and they can share it widely. So yes, online is the way is really the only place at the moment, and festivals, of course, like yours.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, again, Global Peace Film Festival is happening September 16th through the 21st in Orlando. Julie, will we see you at Global Peace Film Festival?
Yes, and I'm so excited.
We're so excited.
Yeah, I'll be there September 20th at 1 p.m. at the Winter Park Library.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I hope to see you guys there. Nina, I know I'll see you, right?
Absolutely.
And Gabby, I hope I get to meet you there.
You will get to meet me there. You meet me there. Awesome. So thank you again, Julie, for joining us. And ladies, I hope you have a wonderful day and much success at Global Peace Film Festival.
You guys, thank you so much for having me, and thanks for having me at the festival. I'm super excited to see you both and everybody else.
All right. Bye, Nina. Bye, Julie.
Bye.
Bye, Julie. Bye, Gabby.